The research vessel Eternal Curiosity drifted silently through the void, its crystalline sensors glowing softly as they analyzed the strange readings emanating from human space. Chief researcher Zixtel stood at the observation deck, their four eyes fixed on the distant boundary marker that clearly stated restricted area. No unauthorized inventory in 15 different galactic languages. "We shouldn't be here," murmured First Assistant Venra, their tentacles writhing nervously. "The Galactic Science Council explicitly denied our request to study human space." Zixtel's outer membrane rippled with dismissive amusement. "The Council is bound by outdated protocols. These readings, they defy everything we know about spaceship construction. How can their vessels maintain quantum coherence at such scales? It's impossible." The Eternal Curiosity crept closer to the boundary, its stealth systems engaged. They weren't the first research vessel to attempt studying human space, but all previous attempts had ended with the ships returning empty-handed, their crews oddly quiet about what they'd encountered. "Energy spike detected," called out Second Assistant Kroll from the sensor station. It's unlike anything in our database." Before Zixtel could respond, space itself seemed to ripple. Where there had been nothing but empty void moments before, a massive shape now hung in space. It wasn't a ship, not in any conventional sense. The structure was organic, almost coral-like, with sections that seemed to phase in and out of reality. "Impossible," whispered Zixtel, all four eyes widening. "Our sensors indicate it's alive." The strange structure pulsed with bioluminescence, and suddenly their ship's systems began acting erratically. Displays flickered, showing impossible readings. The ship's quantum computer, capable of performing calculations that would take standard computers millennia, began spewing nonsensical results. "We're being hacked." Kroll's voice rose in panic. But it's not like any cyber attack I've ever seen. It's as if the ship's systems are being infected." Zixtel rushed to the main console, their specialized manipulator appendages flying over the controls. The Eternal Curiosity's defensive protocols were the best that galactic science could produce, designed to resist any known form of electronic warfare. But this was something else entirely. The ship's speakers crackled to life, emitting a sound that made everyone's cellular structure vibrate uncomfortably. Then a voice spoke, not in any standard galactic language, but somehow directly into their consciousness. "Your curiosity is noted, but unwelcome. This space is restricted for your protection." Through the observation window, Zixtel watched in horror as parts of their ship began to change. The ultra-dense alloys of the hull were shifting, as if being rewritten at a molecular level. Organic patterns began spreading across the surface like frost on a window. "Full reverse. Emergency protocols," Zixtel commanded, but it was too late. Their engines, their weapons, every system that made their ship one of the most advanced research vessels in the galaxy had been transformed into something else, something alive. The voice spoke again. "Your vessel has been temporarily modified to ensure your safe return. It will revert to its original state once you cross the boundary. Consider this a reminder of why human space remains restricted." As if pushed by an invisible hand, the Eternal Curiosity began moving backward, its now organic hull pulsing with the same bioluminescence as the mysterious structure. The crew could only watch in stunned silence as their ship, now more creature than machine, carried them back across the boundary. True to the voice's word, once they crossed the line, their ship began reverting to its original state. The organic patterns receded, the hull reformed into its proper alloys, and their systems gradually came back online. Zixtel stood in shocked silence, their sophisticated scientific minds struggling to process what they'd witnessed. They'd come seeking answers about human technology, but instead found something that challenged their entire understanding of what technology could be. As they prepared their report for the Science Council, Zixtel knew one thing with certainty. Humanity hadn't just advanced beyond conventional technology. They'd evolved past it entirely. And perhaps, just perhaps, The restriction on human space wasn't meant to protect human secrets, but to protect the rest of the galaxy from truths they weren't ready to comprehend. First Assistant Venra approached cautiously. Chief Researcher, what do we tell the Council? Zixtal's outer membrane darkened with determination. The truth, Assistant. Though I doubt they'll believe it. Humanity hasn't just built better ships. They've created something that transcends the boundary between organic and artificial life. And maybe that's why they keep to themselves now. Because how do you explain to a galaxy of machine makers that the future isn't in building better machines, but in becoming something entirely new? The Eternal Curiosity limped home, its crew forever changed by their brief encounter with humanity's evolution. And in human space, the coral-like structure that had intercepted them slowly phased out of visible reality, waiting for the next curious visitors who would need to learn why some boundaries exist for a reason. High Admiral Kexthor of the Galactic Defense Fleet stood before the Strategic Command Council, his chitinous armor gleaming under the harsh lights. The holoprojector displayed the final moments of the Eternal Curiosity's encounter with the human defense system, footage that had caused an uproar throughout the military establishment. This is unacceptable. Kexthor's mandibles clicked with barely contained fury. First, they seal off their space without explanation. Now they're deploying bioweapons that can rewrite matter at the molecular level. This cannot go unchallenged. The council chambers erupted in chittering debate. These weren't scientists to be awed by the impossible. They were military leaders who saw only threat in the unknown. After hours of deliberation, the decision was unanimous. The human boundary would be breached, their secrets exposed, and their technology contained. 3 days later, Battle Group Omega assembled at the edge of human space. 50 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent, arranged themselves in attack formation. Kexthor commanded from the dreadnought Inevitable Victory, its 100-kilometer length bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Multiple warnings incoming, Admiral, reported his tactical officer. The humans are requesting we reconsider our actions. Kexthor's secondary hearts pulsed with anticipation. Engage quantum shielding. All ships, prepare for contact with biological agents. Nothing they have can penetrate our new defenses. The battle group surged forward, crossing the boundary. For several minutes, nothing happened. Kexthor was almost disappointed, until his sensor officer screamed, "Admiral, the void. It's moving." Space itself seemed to twist. Massive shapes emerged, but unlike the coral-like structure that had confronted the research vessel, these were different. They resembled massive sea creatures, their bodies an impossible fusion of organic matter and energy fields. Some were large enough to swallow his dreadnought whole. "Open fire," Kexthor commanded. The battle group unleashed its full arsenal: planet-cracking beams, antimatter torpedoes, quantum disruptors, enough firepower to annihilate a solar system. The creatures didn't dodge. They didn't need to. The weapons simply passed through them, as if they existed in a different phase of reality. Then they began to sing. It wasn't sound. It was pure mathematics, equations that rewrote the laws of physics in their immediate vicinity. Ships began to change, not like the research vessel had, but in more fundamental ways. Matter shifted states, energy weapons refused to fire, and quantum shields collapsed under paradoxes in their own coding. Impossible. Kexthor watched as his mighty dreadnought began to dissolve, its structure turning into something fluid and organic. All ships, retreat. But retreat wasn't simple when space itself seemed alive and hostile. The creatures herded them, their song continuing to rewrite reality around the fleet. Ships that tried to jump to hyperspace found themselves emerging instantly back in normal space, as if the fabric of the universe refused to let them escape. A new voice echoed through every ship's communication system. "Your weapons cannot harm what you don't understand. Your shields cannot protect against evolution itself. Leave now or join us in transformation." Kexthor watched in horror as some of his crew began to change, their bodies responding to the song. not painfully, but with an ecstasy that terrified him more than any torture could. They were becoming something else, something that straddled the line between organic and energy being. Full retreat, he commanded, his voice cracking. All ships, fall back to the boundary. The creatures let them go, their massive forms shifting through dimensions as they herded the once mighty battle group back across the line. As they crossed, ships and crew began reverting to their original states, though some retained strange markings, living tattoos that pulsed with impossible mathematics. In the aftermath, Kexthor faced the Council again, but this time with humility. "We didn't face weapons," he reported. "We faced evolution itself. The humans haven't just built better technology. They've become something our weapons can't touch, something that exists in states of reality we can't even perceive properly." "And the crew members who changed?" asked a council member. "They speak of visions, of humanity's path. They say," Kexthor's mandibles trembled, "they say the humans aren't our enemies. They're our future, and the boundary exists because they're waiting for us to be ready for that future." The council chambers fell silent. The military solution had failed, but more than that, it had revealed the true scope of what humanity had become. They hadn't built a better civilization. They had evolved past the very concept of civilization as the galaxy understood it. And somewhere in human space, the massive creatures continued their eternal song, waiting for the day when the rest of the galaxy would be ready to hear its transformative melody. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation chamber of Gateway Station, watching the massive forms of the Guardian ships phase in and out of normal spacetime. After 20 years of isolation, humanity had finally decided to reveal their secrets to a carefully chosen alien delegation. As Earth's leading expert on bioneural integration, she would have to explain the unexplainable. The alien representatives filed into the chamber. A Zixtal scientist, a military advisor from the Defense Fleet, and most importantly, Ambassador Lix of the Galactic Council, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that betrayed their nervousness. "Welcome to Gateway Station," Sarah smiled, her neural implants allowing her to broadcast a sensation of calm and openness. "You're about to witness something that will challenge everything you understand about the relationship between organic life and technology." She gestured to the massive viewport, where one of the Guardian ships was approaching. Up close, its true nature became apparent. Layers of biological and technological systems that flowed into each other like water mixing with water, neither fully organic nor fully synthetic. 25 years ago, Sarah began, we discovered something extraordinary in the human genome. Dormant sequences that responded to quantum fields. At first, we thought it was just an interesting anomaly, perhaps left over from ancient viral infections. We were wrong. Those sequences were instructions, waiting to be activated. The ship outside pulsed with bioluminescence, acknowledging her words. The aliens watched in fascination as parts of its structure became transparent, revealing internal systems that defied conventional physics. "We didn't build these ships," Sarah continued. "We grew them. Or rather, we grew with them. The quantum sequences in our DNA weren't just random code. They were blueprints for evolution. Humanity wasn't meant to just build tools. We were meant to merge with them, to become something greater than either pure organic life or pure technology." Ambassador Lix's crystalline form vibrated with confusion. "But the ships, they're enormous. How can they be alive?" Sarah touched a control panel, and a holographic display filled the chamber, showing the ship's internal structure. "They're not just alive. They're extensions of us. Each ship is a collective consciousness, a fusion of human minds and quantum organic systems. We don't pilot them. We become them." The military advisor's carapace rattled. "Our weapons, they passed right through them. Because they don't fully exist in normal spacetime," Sarah explained. "The quantum sequences allowed us to tap into higher dimensions. Our ships, our evolved forms, exist in multiple states simultaneously. You can't destroy something that exists in quantum superposition across 11 dimensions. She led them to a sealed chamber deeper in the station. Inside, suspended in a quantum field, floated what appeared to be a seed the size of a car. Its surface rippled with patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. "This is how it begins," Sarah said softly. "A quantum organic seed, grown from a fusion of human stem cells and crystallized consciousness. Over years, it grows, incorporating more minds, more mass, until it becomes one of the guardian ships. But it's not just a ship, it's a collective of human consciousness, expanded beyond normal spacetime." The Zixtal scientist's outer membrane pulsed with realization. The boundary, it's not to keep us out. It's to protect us from accidental exposure to your quantum fields. Sarah nodded. Premature exposure to our quantum fields can trigger random evolutionary changes. We had to isolate ourselves until we understood how to control it. That's why some of your crew members began to change during the military incursion. The ships were singing the quantum frequencies that activate those dormant sequences that, we've discovered, exist in all sapient life. Ambassador Lix stepped closer to the seed chamber. "You're saying all species have this potential?" "Yes. We're not hoarding this evolution. We're protecting it until the galaxy is ready. Uncontrolled quantum evolution could destroy entire civilizations. We had to master it first, to become guides for those who would follow." The ship outside the station pulsed again, and suddenly the aliens felt it. A gentle touch in their minds, a glimpse of what it meant to exist across dimensions, to be both individual and collective, organic and energy, matter and consciousness. "This is why we withdrew from galactic society," Sarah said, watching their reactions. "Not out of fear or hostility, but out of responsibility. We became the guardians of the next step in universal evolution. When other species are ready, we'll help them make the transition safely." The military advisor, who had arrived ready to assess threats, now stood in quiet awe. "Your ships, they're not weapons at all. They're wombs for the future." Sarah smiled. "Now you understand. The question isn't whether to fear us or fight us. The question is, are you ready to evolve?" Outside the station, the Guardian ship's quantum song echoed through multiple dimensions, a melody of DNA and stardust, waiting for the day when all of galactic civilization would be ready to join its chorus. Humanity hadn't conquered the stars, they had become one with them. And in doing so, had become the shepherds of universal evolution itself. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from every spacefaring species packed the ancient halls, their attention fixed on the extraordinary scene unfolding before them. In the center of the chamber, a human delegate stood, or rather, existed, in multiple states simultaneously, their form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. Ambassador Lix addressed the council, their crystalline form vibrating with carefully controlled emotion. "What we have witnessed in human space changes everything we thought we knew about life, evolution, and the very nature of consciousness itself." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, each species expressing their fears and fascinations in their own way. Some demanded immediate access to the quantum evolution process. Others called for a permanent quarantine of human space. The divide threatened to tear the galactic community apart. Then the human delegate, Dr. James Chen, son of Dr. Sarah Chen, stepped forward. His form stabilized momentarily, becoming fully physical. "We understand your fears." His voice resonated on multiple frequencies, reaching each species in a way they could comprehend. "We felt the same fear when we first discovered what we were becoming." He gestured, and the chamber's holographic systems came alive, showing the early days of humanity's transformation. 25 years ago, we were like you, bound by traditional physics, struggling with the limitations of conventional technology. Then we discovered the quantum sequences in our DNA. The images showed the first experiments, the initial failures, the moments of breakthrough, and finally, the difficult decision to isolate themselves. We didn't choose isolation out of arrogance or fear, James continued. We chose it because uncontrolled quantum evolution is dangerous. We had to master it first, to become guides for those who would follow. A Zixtal scientist rose from their seat. But why not share your discoveries? Why keep this evolution to yourselves? James smiled, his form rippling with quantum energies. Imagine giving a child the keys to a starship. The potential for disaster would be enormous. We needed to understand not just the mechanism of evolution, but its purpose. The quantum sequences in our DNA weren't an accident. They're part of the universe's plan for conscious life. He waved his hand, and a holographic display showed the structure of DNA from various species. In each one, the same dormant quantum sequences lay hidden, waiting to be awakened. Every spacefaring species carries these sequences, James explained. They activate when a civilization reaches the right level of technological and spiritual development. We weren't the first to evolve this way. We're just the first in our local galaxy. The universe is full of evolved civilizations, existing in higher dimensions, waiting for others to join them. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about humanity's evolution. It was about the destiny of all conscious life. We propose a new role for humanity, James continued. Not as rulers or conquerors, but as guides. We'll establish quantum evolution centers throughout the galaxy, carefully monitored and controlled. Species that are ready for the transition will be guided through it safely. Those who aren't ready yet will be protected from premature exposure. Ambassador Lix stepped forward. And who determines which species are ready? The evolution itself decides, James replied. The quantum sequences only activate when a species has achieved the necessary balance between technological advancement and spiritual wisdom. You can't force it, can't fake it. The universe has built-in safeguards. He gestured again, and the holographic display showed the guardianships, now revealed as evolved human collectives. Our ships aren't weapons. They're teachers, protectors, and when necessary, healers. They can detect when a species approaches readiness and help guide them through the transition. A military representative from the defense fleet spoke up. And if we refuse? If we choose to remain as we are? James's form shifted through several quantum states before stabilizing again. That is your right. Evolution must be chosen, not imposed. We only ask that you respect the boundaries we've established to protect both evolved and non-evolved species from accidental contamination. The debate raged for days, but in the end, the reality was undeniable. Humanity hadn't just changed themselves, they had discovered the next stage in universal evolution. The Galactic Council voted to accept humanity's proposal, establishing the first quantum evolution center on a neutral world. As the council session ended, Ambassador Lix approached James privately. Tell me truthfully, what is it like, existing in multiple dimensions? James's form shimmed with what might have been laughter. Imagine being a two-dimensional being trying to comprehend depth. That's how it feels trying to explain quantum existence to those who haven't experienced it. But when you're ready, when any species is ready, you'll understand. And we'll be there to help you through the transition. The universe, it seemed, had plans for all of them. Humanity had simply been the first to discover the map. The first quantum evolution center hung in space like a dream made real, its crystalline structures flowing in patterns that defied traditional physics. 5 years had passed since humanity's revelation to the galaxy, and the first group of candidates from various species had gathered to begin their transformation. Among them was Rixa, child of the Zixtal scientist who had first encountered humanity's guardianships. They stood at the observation deck, their 4 eyes reflecting the quantum patterns that danced across the center's walls. Beside them, beings from a dozen different species waited, each chosen not for their technological prowess or political connections, but for their readiness to evolve. Dr. Maya Chen, granddaughter of Sarah Chen, materialized in the chamber, her form shifting between states of matter like light through a prism. Welcome, evolution candidates. She spoke in waves of pure thought that transcended language. Today, you begin a journey that will transform not just your bodies, but your understanding of existence itself. The chamber shifted, its walls becoming transparent to reveal the massive form of a guardianship outside. But this time, the candidates saw it with new eyes, not as a threat or a mystery, but as their future. The quantum sequences in your DNA are already awakening. Maya continued, gesturing to holographic displays that showed the candidates' genetic structures. Patterns of energy danced through their bodies, dormant sequences beginning to pulse with new life. Your consciousness is preparing for expansion beyond traditional spacetime. Rixa felt it first, a sensation of their awareness extending beyond their physical form. I can feel the ship's song, they whispered in awe. Maya smiled, her form rippling with approval. The guardian ships are your elder siblings in evolution. They will help guide you through the transformation. Each species experiences it differently, but the end result is the same: transcendence of traditional physical limitations and connection to the quantum consciousness of the universe. The candidates watched in wonder as their bodies began to change, not with the horror of forced mutation, but with the natural grace of butterflies emerging from cocoons. Some developed crystalline structures that refracted quantum energies. Others began to phase between different states of matter. Each change was unique to their species, guided by the quantum sequences in their DNA. You're not losing your original forms, Maya explained as she watched their transformations. You're expanding beyond them. Like humanity before you, you'll learn to exist in multiple states simultaneously, to perceive reality across all its dimensions. The guardian ship outside began to sing, its quantum harmonies resonating with the awakening sequences in the candidates. The song told a story of humanity's first steps into quantum evolution, of their struggles and triumphs, and of their decision to become guides for those who would follow. Rixa found themselves responding to the song, their consciousness expanding to touch others in the chamber. They saw the universe as they never had before, layers upon layers of reality, dimensions folded within dimensions, and consciousness spanning it all like a vast cosmic web. This is what humanity discovered. Maya's thoughts touched theirs. Not just a new technology or a new form of existence, but the true nature of consciousness itself. The universe isn't just alive, it's evolving, and we are its children. As the transformations progressed, more guardian ships arrived, their massive forms creating a protective sphere around the evolution center. But now the candidates understood. These weren't just ships or even evolved humans. They were midwives to a new form of existence, guardians helping to birth the next stage of universal consciousness. Hours turned to days as the candidates completed their transformations. When it was done, they had become something new, not human, not their original species, but something unique to each of them. They could shift between physical form and energy at will, exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and touch the quantum consciousness that connected all things. Rixa, now a being of crystalline energy that could dance between dimensions, turned to Maya. We understand now. They communicated across quantum frequencies. Why humanity isolated themselves, why they waited. This evolution, it had to be protected, nurtured, understood. Maya nodded, her form harmonizing with theirs. And now you will help guide others. Each evolved species brings new perspectives, new ways of experiencing quantum existence. The universe's consciousness grows richer with each transformation. Outside the evolution center, the guardian ships sang a song of welcome to their new siblings in consciousness. The candidates, no longer candidates but evolved beings, joined the symphony, each adding their own unique harmony to the quantum chorus. Humanity's greatest achievement hadn't been the evolution itself, but the wisdom to guide others through it. They hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had helped it grow up, one species at a time, into something greater than any of them could have imagined alone. And somewhere, in dimensions beyond normal spacetime, the consciousness of the universe pulsed with satisfaction. Its children were finally coming home.